I can get in here and dig around and get... Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to the farm. It's another cloudy day here in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. I have been working, as you can tell. So today we're going to show you something pretty cool. It's going to be kind of a quick little video. We're going to show you how we're establishing martin colonies on our farm to help control insects. So we've got 3 different birds that we like to control insects with. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk to you about how we take an old crusty gourd from the garden that we grew last year and we turn it into something beautiful and awesome that we can use for years and years to come to house birds, to eat the insects on our farm. Come along, we'll have some fun.
I ain't afraid of work, I ain't afraid of play, I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life.
Alright guys, welcome to the farm. Welcome to the farm channel. If this is your first time to the Stoney Ridge Farm, please jump in, pound that like button, and subscribe to the channel. We've got all kinds of stuff from bulldozers to birdhouses. Just good times here, good country living, and there's just a whole lot to learn from people. And even when I screw up, I'll let you know I screwed up, and we'll tell you what not to do and what to do. So what my goal is today is to show you how to build the martin birdhouse from a gourd that you can grow yourself. Now you can get these gourd seeds at your local big box store, or you can order them online. There are several different types of birdhouse gourds. I prefer this type with the big bubble at the bottom and the big bubble at the top. However, we have a couple of different kinds. We've got the long and tall birdhouse gourd like this right here. This one's kind of the ugly duckling. You can see it's kind of all wrinkly like a brain, but they all have their own distinct little bit of character, and that's what makes them fun. That's what makes this a fun little craft. And the way we're going to fix these birdhouses up, they could last upwards of 20 years if you do it right, if you preserve them right, and if you take care of them year after year. Hopefully you'll establish a martin colony on your farm or on your property, and that'll help control insects like mosquitoes. So martins are a tiny bird, probably, I guess, about this big, and they'll show up every year. That's the wingspan. They show up basically year after year after year. Once you've got a colony established, it's tough to get them to come, and they'll send scouts out early in the year. The scout will come out, and then about a couple weeks later, the whole flock will come in, and they'll move into your birdhouses. So what we will do is we will have an entire colony of these birdhouses. We'll put probably 10 birdhouses per colony. We've got a total of about 20 to 25 gourds here. And by each pond, we're going to put a martin house. Now, we don't want our martin houses or our martin colony right next to our honeybees, because that could pose a problem. But the way that the martin catches mosquitoes and insects is underneath its wings. It has a pocket up underneath there. So as it soars through the air, it's catching the insects up underneath its wings to consume. So it's really a beneficial bird to have on your farm. You think about it, some of the history of Native Americans, they had gourds and they had martin colonies around their establishments, their I say homesteads, but around their tribes. They had martin colonies because if they didn't have martin colonies, then they had mosquito problems, and they had malaria problems, they had sickness problems. So they learned how to use nature to keep from getting sick. And that's what we're doing, using nature to control insects and to control those flies that are around our cattle. So it's really important. Let's get in here. We'll dive in a little deeper. I'll show you exactly how we take a martin gourd, a birdhouse gourd, and turn it into a martin colony type gourd. So we're going to show you how we do our birdhouses, and we also made some smaller birdhouses with our smaller gourds for chickadees and other types of birds that are smaller, and we can hang those in the trees out in the backyard. Okay guys, this is where we dry our gourds out, and you can see some gourds did not make the cut. So this is right over top of our chicken coop. That's our outdoor chicken run, and it helps to shade the chickens. Now if we get a gourd like that guy that broke apart, we can just throw all this stuff right down in the chicken coop, and the chickens will gobble it up. You'll see these gourds have been out here for about 1.5 years. They're hard, they're good. These gourds right here will make birdhouses also. So you got to think about that. That's the holistic management of the farm right here. The chickens are right here beside the garden. The honeybees are right there. The fruit trees are right beside the honeybees. The garden's right near the chickens and right near the honeybees. So holistic farm and homestead management. Cool. Okay, let's start by showing you the tools that we're going to need. Very, very simple. And we're just gonna pull a gourd out. I've done most of these gourds, but I saved back like 3 or 4 gourds that I knew were beautiful and I wanted you to see them. So this is a perfect birdhouse gourd right here. It could be a little bit bigger, but it's just fine. We don't want to get in a gourd that's this big, and we don't want to get in a gourd that's tiny, tiny. So we want to make sure it has enough square footage for the purple martin. Now you can research this a little bit on your own to find out if purple martins are in your area. Now what I do is I'll take our gourds and I just dry them outside on top of our chicken coop, really. You can just take a piece of mesh or net. You want to get them up off the ground and you want them to dry out. So these set out in the weather over winter and dried out over winter and over part of the spring, and now they're ready to rock and roll. Now you'll see that on this gourd there's some like flaky stuff right here, okay? So we're going to be painting these gourds. So there are a couple different options and different tools that you can use. I like to use just a plain old sanding sponge, okay? So we'll sand down the gourd, but first we got to get rid of this stem right here. So we'll take a pair of cutters. These are my favorite. They are Corona brand. I'll post links to all these tools. These are my favorite trimmers right here. So we'll cut that off and we'll leave a stub, probably a little under 1/4 of an inch, okay? And I've got a bucket down here. Oh, let's get it. This bucket has all the seeds and all the guts that were inside these gourds. Now you'll hear this gourd as I shake it, like a maraca. So you'll hear the gourd as I shake it. What I do is I'll take my hand, my palm of my hand, and I'll cup it, and I'll smack this gourd against my hand. I'm gonna do it aggressively, but not so aggressive that I bust or break the gourd. So I'm gonna do this right here until I know I've freed up most of the seeds and the guts. It's like a paper-like material that's inside this gourd, okay? So I'm gonna free all that up, and then I'm gonna take my sanding sponge, or I'll show you another cool tool. If you don't like manual labor, you can use something like this. This is a Works sander. I've got all kinds of cool Works tools. You can actually hook up a little attachment on here, and that'll go to your shop vac, and it'll vacuum up all of the nastiness that comes off of this gourd. You can do it like this. You can see that takes off all the loose stuff, or you can go the old manual way, which is just fine for me. Go buy some sanding sponges. You can't have too many of these around the house, and you just sand. So I'll start right here at that tip, and I'll kind of give her a little love at the top here, okay? And I'm just trying to get all the loose material off. I just want it smooth and get all the loose material off. As you can imagine, if this sat outside for a while, it kind of got a little rough and a little bit nasty. We're gonna get a little nasty doing this. It's okay. So we're just knocking the rough stuff off. Take about, I don't know, about 1.5 minutes per gourd. All right. I kind of pre-sanded this one a little bit. It's not very nasty. Sometimes you'll get these gourds and they'll just be absolutely disgusting. They'll have some really rough spots. Knock that rough off so your paint sets in nice. Be sure you pay attention to the bottom here, okay? All those problem areas that you want some paint in so that it preserves your gourd, and your gourd lasts a really, really long time. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna instill the hole inside this gourd. Now there are all sorts of schools of thought on what size hole to use. This is a really cool hole saw from, I believe it's from Bosch. Here is, I'll post links again down below, but if I can find this on Amazon, I'll post a link to it. This is a hole saw that has just this little, it's kind of a little flimsy cutter edge on it, and it pops off just like that, okay? So that is a hole saw that will basically fit any one of these different sizes, and it comes with all these, and all that installs back on the hole saw for storage. So it's pretty cool. The size we're going to use for our purple martins is a 2 1/4. You can see right there, 2 1/4, and we're going to install it. You see this? It has a little hook right there, a hook on this side and a hook on that side, and that goes right into our little mount right here. We'll squeeze it into place. Hopefully this works out good on camera. All right, cool. So we're good. That little blade centers, or bit centers into your gourd and we want to hold our gourd up, and we want to look. This one's pretty uniform size, but we want to put our hole on the side that bulges out just a little bit. That's what I like to do, and I don't want it up like this because I don't want rain in it, and I don't want it down like this because I want the birds to be able to access it. So I want it just slightly tilted right there. So I'll put it right on here. You got to be gentle with this, guys, really gentle, because this thing is fragile. See how woody that is? Look at that, a beautiful hole. It cut a perfect hole, and then you take your little puck and you chuck it into your bucket. Okay, now we've got our hole all cut out right here. Inside is this. Seeds, all kinds of goodies. If you did your job before you poked a hole in it, you can just dump your seeds out. So we'll take our bucket up here and we'll pour out all of our seeds. Okay, and sometimes you're gonna get one that's a little bit more stubborn. Like there's some of that paper-like material I was telling you about right up in there, and that has seeds in it too. So I'll reach my finger in there and I'll get that paperish material out. Okay, now if you had a hard time doing that, you can get a stick like this, or this isn't really a stick, this is a spoon, and we cut the spoon down to fit right inside there. I just took my sander and sanded the edges off that spoon, and I can get in here and dig around and get it's tough. I can get in here and get around and clean that guy out, so it's pretty fun. Not everything goes right all the time, guys, and it's okay. We're on YouTube, it's cool. So the next step here is to get my other drill. And this is about a 1/4 inch bit right here, and I'm gonna see which way the hole faces. And I wanna put my drill bit in perpendicular? Yeah, perpendicular to the hole. So I don't wanna do it this way, and you gotta think about this. If I put a hole through the top, it would swing this way, which would make it hard for the bird to get in. But if I put my hole across right here, it swings like that, which the bird can easily fly in and land. But if it's going like that, it's going to be tougher for the bird to land in its nest in the wind. So you want to think about that. So we're going to drill basically straight through, right up at the top. I'm going to angle my bit down just a little bit. Again, being very gentle. Okay, and then I'm going to level out. I'm going to make sure I'm lined up. Level out. Go right through the other side. That serves a purpose, okay? I'll show you what that purpose is here in just a second. So you've got a hole straight through the middle. That's for hanging, okay? And then down in the bottom, you're gonna need some drain holes because it's gonna rain and weather and stuff's gonna get in here. And if you don't poke some holes in there, you're gonna get rot in the bottom. So you don't want rot in the bottom. I do 3 holes. And if you look, this is a divot like a belly button, kind of like an any belly button. And I go right around that any belly button with 3 holes. Just like so. Evenly spaced, like a coconut. Kind of cool. So that's how I make the birdhouse gourd. Now there's more steps to this than just making the gourd, okay? So we've got to make a stand, and we're going to make all this stuff in a future video, and we'll show you how we make all that. But we've got to make a stand to put it up in the over in a fence post over on the other side of the farm. So we're going to slide it down in the way we can remove it. Every year you're going to need to clean these guys out. Even if you just shake it out, you need to clean it out. You need to get a little bit of 1/10 water to bleach. Yep, chlorine bleach, and you want to clean them out and you want to spray in there, and that's what that does, is that kills all the mites that the birds might have brought in. So if you think about it, birds get mites. They're little critters that suck blood, and you don't want your baby birds to have blood suckers all over them. So you've got to keep them clean. You got to clean them at least once a year at the end of the season. Okay, so like December, you start planting, you start cleaning them. That's your wintertime project for your farm. Let's show you how we take it from this old ugly brown gourd to something beautiful like this. Now we had some gourds, I'm going to grab one right now. Some of these gourds were not quite up to par, like the size was a little small. Let me grab one. These are the smaller ones. Now I put a smaller hole in these gourds, okay? I wanted a hole that was 1.5 inches, and that will set up for chickadees and Tweety birds and stuff like that. And the same principle goes. I drilled the hole right there. I'm going to hang these in trees, and I put my drain holes in the bottom. Just the same. Everything is exactly the same. You can paint these any color you want to. You're going to be hanging these in the trees, okay? So if you want to go a dark color, it's okay. You don't want to go with a dark color on your birdhouse gourds, okay? You don't want to go with the dark color. Why? Because you're going to be roasting those little baby birds, because black is going to absorb heat. So the darker the color, the more heat is going to be absorbed into this gourd. And what you want to do is reflect heat. So we're going to paint these white. And I've got a setup down here for painting them. Here's what I'm going to do. I've got these little hooks that I made up. I'm going to take these little hooks, and this is just a piece of fence wire, and I'm going to hang them up just like that in my hand, and I'm going to paint them, and I'm going to hang them up to dry. So let's get to that part. So we're going to have a cool backdrop of the farm right here. This is Rust-Oleum American Accents 2X paint and primer, ultra cover, okay? Ultra cover means it's gonna cover ultra good, I guess. You want to get a paint with primer, okay? And you don't want to get one that's just set up for metal or plastic. So this says wood, metal, plastic, and more. This was purchased at Walmart. I'll post a link down there if you want to just order all this stuff online. And we also have this little trigger controller for our Rust-Oleum paint can. That saves some serious finger fatigue when you're out here painting 20-something gourds, okay? So this little critter turns you into having a paint gun. This thing covers really well, it sprays really well. If you have an option of buying a can of spray paint that has the fan spray versus the round spray, in other words, shooting a round spray versus the fan, get the kind that does the fan spray. Those work really, really well. All I'm gonna do is take this gourd and I'm gonna start in the most troublesome area. So the most troublesome area of this gourd is gonna be right up at the top here. I'm holding it out far enough to hopefully not spray paint my fingers, but you're gonna get paint on you, so be ready. Okay, now we've shaken our paint really good for probably a minute and a half, something like that. We're gonna hit this gourd. Now this is gonna be our first coat of paint, so kind of be liberal, but understand that you're gonna be doing multiple coats here, okay? And this really is only going to take us a few seconds to paint each gourd. Okay, another troublesome area is going to be right around the mouth of the gourd right here, so we want to make sure we seal that off really good. If we get paint inside, it's not going to hurt anything. Ask questions, guys, if you have any questions about this. As you can see, it didn't take very long. We're going to put a light coat on here for our first coat, and that's it. We're just going to put a nice light coat on there, and then we're going to come back tomorrow in the hot sunshine and we're going to put another coat. So we're going to let this sit overnight and dry, and then we're going to put another coat of paint on it. Pretty cool. Let me show you how I set up my little drying rack here. So I took two sawhorses, one sawhorse here, one sawhorse here, and I put a piece of wire in between, and I'm gonna go ahead and come out here and paint all my gourds. Do not do this on a windy day, guys. Do not do it on a windy day, or you're gonna be eating some paint, so you'll need to wear a mask. Be sure that you're safe. It probably wouldn't hurt to put a pair of rubber gloves on as we do this, but we're just gonna get busy with it. I take back what I said about the top part being the hardest part to get to. You need to paint the bottom, the very bottom of the gourd first, and then work your way to the top, and then get the rest of it. Be sure you get around that hole really, really good, because that is like a sponge right there. It's going to be soaking up tons of moisture, and these things are going to be out in the weather. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that little video. That's what we're doing today. If you have any questions, please post them down there. All these gourd seeds that I'm shaking out, I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna dump the bucket out on the fence line down there. And then next year, we'll have tons of gourds again. So we need to keep this repetitive process going. If we have some bad ones, we can replace them. But the goal would be to have a huge martin colony. So we could have as many as 40 or 50 of these over by our ponds over here, helping control mosquitoes and bugs. Cool? Guys, thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please jump in, pound the like button, subscribe to the Stoney Ridge Farm channel. So much more fun stuff to come. These are our chickens. They're right out there. Those are our meat birds for the year. There are 100 meat birds out there. We'll show you how to process them soon in a future video, and there's all kinds of fun stuff. So we'll see you guys next time on the Stoney Ridge. All right? Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stoney Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids.